Todd, it seems like most of the special teams units have kind of rounded into shape for you, but the kickoff cover was an issue against UCLA. What do you see is going on with that unit?
Well, we've been much improved. The first game we kicked a line drive to the guy, got it on about the 40-yard line. The other night we kicked a ball. We had them, it just missed tackles. We had one that I think they returned about to the 40, and then the one for a touchdown. I mean, we just missed tackles. I mean, we actually fit it exactly like we want to fit it, and you got to give their player a lot of credit because he broke 3 tackles and made a great run. So, you got in this league, you have to kick the ball off and you have to cover. And we'd really, other than those, we've been much improved this year on that. Alex is, locating the ball. When he locates the ball where we're supposed to, then we have, we don't have any issues. But that's been mostly tackling. And it was our best player, one of our best players. So we just got to get better tackle. I think we're breaking down too far from them. Some technique things that we can try to get better at, but it boils down to making tackles.
Coach, how much of a split are you looking at their staff and what they did last year at Washington and compared with their personnel at USC? And do you take confidence in knowing that those were 2 of your better games last year?
Oh, no, I don't think what they did at Washington has anything to do with what they're doing now. Obviously, they've adapted their system to the personnel that's there, and we focus mostly on our, predominantly on this year's games and, the personnel that they have this year because it's different. But we're going to, they get the best running back maybe that we're going to see all year. And maybe the second best running back we're going to see all year. Their running backs are really good. Their skill players are really, really good. The big thing is just not giving up cheap ones. We got to be able to stop the run. So, looking at, we spent most of our time focusing, concentrating on what they've done this year, and obviously we're very familiar with what they did at Washington. But it's just a different deal. It's a different set of players, different set of personnel, and coaches adapt to the guys they have.
The last 2 games, you guys have had some situations where you've had 12 guys on the field or not enough guys on the field, and you've had to call timeouts, and I think you got at least 1 penalty. What is the issue there?
Tempo. I mean, the other team, when you play fast-paced tempo teams, and the one situation that you're talking about was they're going fast and they run their field goal kicking unit on the field, and we've got a field goal block unit and then our base unit, and just some miscommunication. But the number one thing that caused was because of tempo. And I called a timeout earlier in the game when I think we had 10 guys on the field on the I think a punt return, and then we had the one substitution deal on the field goal. So. It happens because teams are moving fast and going fast, and just I think early on, just the rotate. One of the things is getting guys on, getting guys off the field. When you're going against these fast tempo teams, it's hard to simulate that in practice, and just teaching guys that you can run straight off the field. You don't have to run back to the player's box. You can run straight out. You can run straight off the field at 3-yard line and come back up the deal. So. Just stuff like that, and probably a little bit of inexperience and just having to get used to it. But it's we go over those things and look at those things in practice. We also are playing a lot more people this year. We're not, we didn't sub much last year. I mean, Will and Carl played every play pretty much. We're subbing at corner. We're subbing some at safety. We're subbing at linebacker. So there's a lot more moving parts there. But mainly it's tempo was a challenge there. But I'll be honest with you, we're 10 times better than we were last year. Yes.
You talked a lot about missed tackles being a problem. You said you work on it every day in practice. Do you work on it more now to try and fix that, or is that more of a mental adjustment?
No. Something we do all the time. We start practice off with it every day. The first thing we do every day in practice, every day we ever practice, every day we ever will practice. We work tackling every day. And so I think going back and looking at that, a lot of it had to do with maybe our guys being a little bit too, trying to knock people down, trying to get a little bit too hyped up and all that. And you just got to be under control, make the tackle, and trying to knock the ball loose and stuff like that. So it was, and we had not tackled like that. So there's two combinations when you're playing. You come out of a game and you say, well, wow, we didn't tackle very good. One, you have to give the opponent credit. I think we were also obviously playing against a lot better skill players than what we had played against up to that point. But we played against some pretty good guys, the 22 for Colorado, and we tackled pretty well. I mean, I felt pretty good. We came off our best game tackling. I think that, we have guys that hadn't played in that type game, and, it was just, they were just so amped up. They were just a little bit out of control, and that hurt us. So we talked a lot about that being a factor. You tackle with your eyes and your feet, and you got to stay, you got to get your feet in the grass and accelerate your feet. So, but we do that every day. Matter of fact, we tackle for 10 minutes every single day. We do ball security. The very first thing we do on offense is ball security. Every time we practice, we do the same thing with tackling. So, we won't do any more, any less. We do what we always do.
You mentioned this a little bit with UCLA. A lot of the guys on this team being from Southern California, especially going to this week on the road there. How do you eliminate sort of the emotion or the distraction of it, especially for a guy like Mike Bergovici?
No, we do what we always do. We're a team that's got the foundation of our program is character. We're very, we're made leaps and bounds strides there as far as the leadership and mental maturity and all those things. And you find out what you're made of. And just like we talked to our players, last year we were undefeated, went into Stanford, and was not a very wasn't very pleasant. And how we responded, we come back and we won in a big way, and that's what we've got to be able to do. It's what happens when you have a setback is everybody questions, everybody looks at all that, and that's the nature of the deal. But we've got a belief in what we're doing. We got a belief in each other, and in this league, it's you got to bring it every single week. And when I got here, there were so many things that I would hear, like, well, we don't play well when we go to California, or we don't win on the road. We don't do it. Yeah, none of that has anything to do with what we're doing now. I mean, the bottom line is that we're a program that's based on a value system of character, smart, discipline, and tough. I think our guys will respond the right way. Obviously, the hardest thing to do is to win on the road, and we've got to go in there and beat as good a team as we've played to this point. And I think a very, very good football team, a very talented football team in a very difficult atmosphere. And that's why they call it the Pac-12 Conference, and we actually signed up for this, so we're excited about the opportunity.
Coach, you talked about a lot of the new moving parts. Your defense is quite a bit different than last year, and there was a learning curve associated with that you talked about. Just how do you feel about just the way that you're approaching games and things of that nature at this point?
Yeah, I mean, we're still learning a lot. We're still trying to, we're trying to do some things, trying to figure out, how to do some of the things that we need to do, and get the right people on the field. I think we've gotten where we've got people in the right positions, and now it's just about getting better, every single day. And just in these games, I mean, you take, like, I give you an example. Like, if you'd asked me after the game, how do I think Quishy Brown played? I'd have probably said, well, golly, you just got to play better now. I mean, but he got beat on one play. That was it. You take the rest of the game, he played pretty good. Now, you can't get beat on that one play. But in this conference, in this league, that's just the way it is. I mean, if you turn the football over and you give up, explosive plays, if you have someone scores, blocks a punt, runs a kickoff back, you throw an interception for a touchdown, those things are just too hard to overcome in this. If you go back and you look in those games where that happens, you get an interception for a touchdown, you kickoff return for a touchdown, you'll find that very few of those games you win. So, that's our guys are learning defensively and getting better. I've got a lot of confidence that these guys are maturing and understanding what we're doing. I think that it has to be it's trying to figure out where that median is as far as how much we pressure and how much we don't and all that, because you can't just sit there in this league. You have to pressure. The big play we gave up last week on the pass, we were in cover 3, 4-man rush. And if I had the last games to do over with, I would have blitzed more, because we need more pressure on the quarterback. And where we really got hurt was the scrambling around and running and throwing and hurting us there. And so we just got to you just got to find that happy median where it's at and what you can do. But I like this group of guys' attitude and how they're improving. I don't know if you guys remember last year, but it was the same deal. I mean, the same type of situation. I mean, as a matter of fact, it might have been, I think it was 35-0 or something at one time in that game, and that was very miserable experience, and that's kind of part of it. But our program's not, we don't just wholesale, just scrap everything and change everything overnight, and sky's not falling. We're just continuing to get better. We're proud of the young men that we're working with, and love the attitude and the character that they have. We had a great practice Sunday, and this is the Pac-12 conference. Man, you're going to play some of the best teams, most explosive teams in the country, and it gives you an opportunity to do something spectacular and great every weekend. And so, we're believing that these guys will respond just like we have every year we've been here.
Coach, one stat I found intriguing under your tenure so far is ASU's trailed 12 times at halftime over in your 4th year. You guys have rallied to come back twice in those 12 games. Do you find it difficult to boost the morale, the confidence of a team when they might be a little bit down at halftime?
No, I think that has a lot to do. That's interesting, because I spent a lot of time looking at that before the season. Because when we're winning, it's like astronomically in our favor. And I think it has a lot to do with just man, when you get out there in this league, the offenses are so explosive. The key is the first and second quarter, is surviving that. Because people have to survive our offense too, and so it's probably the hardest thing. It's one of the reasons why. I mean, I've never done what I'm doing now as a head coach. I do it because that's what's going to determine our fate, being champions or not, is how well we were able to play defense, and really, defense, including cover teams on special teams and all that. In this conference, it's difficult. It's difficult for the people that play us. No, I don't find that at all. I think what happens to you, if you look and research those games, it's how far are you behind. If it's close, then obviously. You get an opportunity to win those games. You just can't get behind like that, it's just, but how our guys respond at halftime, how they finish. I went back, you look at last year, like even the stats on how in the 4th quarter, how much we outscored the opponents and stuff like that. So I think it'd probably be pretty common as we looked around and researched other teams in our league. That's probably pretty common. Just like if you look at the stat on if we score first or the other team score first, we obviously win the majority of the games we score first. So I don't know what that has to do with anything, but you got to play 4 quarters, and I love where we are as a program, and the character that our players have. The other night, how they respond. It's an honor and a pleasure to coach these guys because of the young men that they are, and that's what matters. Anybody can have a great attitude when things are going good. It's when you get hit in the mouth, you get kicked in the teeth, and I can tell you these guys will get back up and they'll give you everything they have. They've got character, they've got discipline, they're smart, and we're also learning. I mean, I think we had 6 penalties last week, and we're still one of the fewest penalized teams, I think, in the conference, and we've been that way. But we've got some young guys learning some things too. Like last week, we had a penalty roughing the passer. Well, our kid actually tried to pull off. And he did pull off. He really didn't hit the guy hard. He pulled off, but his face mask hit the quarterback's face mask. So we're just learning those things, you know, and that's a penalty. You can't put a finger on that face mask, or it's a penalty. And so we're learning things like that too. And but I like this group of guys. Got a tremendous belief in them, know how they're going to respond, and excited to head to the Coliseum on Saturday.
Almost without fail, Jackie Ship's always the last one off the practice field with his position group, the defensive linemen. You had 3 guys last year on that defensive line who are now in the NFL. Can you give an idea of what it's like to practice every day, to teach every day a group of that caliber, and then to have to start the next season with a bunch of defensive linemen who really don't have a whole lot of experience?
You know, one, you can't, you know, I don't ever have the things that y'all ask. I never even think about. You know, just being honest with you, because you just go to work. I mean, that's part of it. People come here as freshmen and they graduate as seniors, and it's nice when you have guys that, you know, 3 years from now it's gonna be really nice to have Smallwood and Rennell Wren and Humphreys and those guys. I mean, but it is a challenge when they first get in, because that's the hardest position. That's where it's really difficult, and that's where there's less margin for error, and it's just something that it's hard to make huge leaps. At the skill position, you'll watch, there's more kids that'll play as freshmen at skill positions than there will on the offensive line or on the interior of the defensive line. Even at defensive end, you can see some guys have a chance because of the athleticism. But no, it's, you know, one, we have to make sure that, because kind of the way coaching will go is kind of that, you know, because see, I don't ever think that way because I think that's an excuse. We approach it that, you know what, we've got to adapt to the guys we have, because we had adapt very well to the ones that we had before. But we recruited these guys to fit our system, and they do fit our system. We've got to coach them, and we've got to get them developed, and we've got to adapt what we're doing to what they do well right now. Obviously, all of them are going to be, you know, you got true freshmen playing in the interior defensive line. It's a challenge. But you know, I mean, we just go out there and coach them, teach them every day, and they're continuing to get better. You know, you have to, do you have to adapt your calls a little bit and stuff like that? Sure. But I think that they're progressing well, and you'd like not to have that. You'd like to have where you last year many times I looked at, you know, maybe, you know, we should play more guys and all that, but at the end of the day, I'm committed each year to winning and to winning those games, and so you do what you got to do to win, but you also want to build your program and build what you're doing. But you know, Jackson, Marcus Hardison are really playing. Edmond, I think, is really playing well. Antonio is really getting better, and what you find is every snap they take, they get better, and they're getting better and better. And so I don't really. I think we're working hard to develop, and it's just keys fundamentals, and it happens so fast inside. It's so fast. It's not how you explain it to them. It happens fast, and it's very violent and very physical in there. That's not been the problem. I mean, our guys have held up really well in that. You know, Ami's a guy that played linebacker. Now he's playing 3 technique, and he's grown into that. And so he's improving, and we think he's going to be a great player, as well as Deshaun and the guys we've got in there. But you know, it's the ability to impact the quarterback is what is the greatest challenge, because when in high school, when you're so much more superior than the guy blocking you, it's pretty easy to beat them. In college, it's difficult, but that's where we've got to make sure that we continue to get better, and that's what you see us working on most is getting them to get off on the football, to be able to execute the techniques, to be able to we've got to impact quarterbacks in this league to be successful.
You talked a couple of times about that Stanford loss last year being kind of similar to this one. What was the response of that team in the days after that game, the attitude, and how do you compare it to this?
Exactly like ours is now. I mean, no one likes to fall short. It's going to happen to them. We talk to these guys. It's going to happen to you in life. How do we respond? We tell our players to look up, focus on your faith, focus on your character, focus on, reach out, and that means team up. And so the guys last year and the guys the year before, we had the Oregon game the first year. We had to stay. I wish we could quit having these games, but we have one a year that's obviously very, very difficult. But I think there's been an example laid for them by the guys that have been in front of them, and then we just got really solid young men. That doesn't mean that doesn't guarantee you anything, but I know that's how you win football games, with guys that are disciplined and guys that are tough and guys that are smart and have character, and so that's how they'll respond. I mean, I know they're going to respond, and we're probably playing the best team that we've played to this point this week, and so we got to play our best game. So we got to you got to come off that and you got to play your best game. We were able to do that last year, and we got to do it this year. No Taylor Kelly questions. Good, thanks. Okay.